What I want to do is take you on a journey of blacks in America from the timeline of the time we arrived here until current day. So first off, I think you'd like to know a little bit about me, those that don't know me. I'm a 40-year employee. The first two positions I had in this company, I was a union worker for 20 years, and now the last 20 years I've been on the management side. I like to say I fell down and hit my head, so apparently I'm still here. But also, I don't think you know a person unless you know the whole person. So in my personal life, I'm married, I have 2 children, I have 2 grandchildren. My daughter just had a baby last year. This month will be her 1-year birthday, but her brother turned 21 in January. So she's got a 21-year-old and a 1-year-old. We said, you're crazy, but we love you, okay? I'm currently a student at Excelsior. I'm working on my bachelor's in liberal arts, so I'm a lifelong learner. I think we all should be that way. A couple of fun facts about me. I love photography. I love videos. I love meeting people. Those that really know me know I'm a hardcore musician, as you can see behind me, sitting in my studio at home. And a few of my heroes that you're going to hear maybe a little bit about today, a little Frederick Douglass, a little Malcolm X, and Prince is by far my favorite artist of all time. But all of my friends call me AJ. When I hear my full name, I get nervous because that's my government name. I get a little nervous about that. So when Black History Month rolls around, one of the things I love to do, I always throw this slide up on my screen for the last few years. And what I like to say about that is from Africa to slavery to America, still I rise. And I get dressed up to let you know that Black history isn't just in February, it's every day. Every day you talk to me, every day you see me, every day you see someone that looks like me, that is Black history. So I want you to take a deep breath. I'm going to take you on a quick little journey. I'm going to go through some things. And Bill Levis used to say a wonderful thing. He used to always say, assume positive intent. Don't take this as a personal attack. Don't take this as gospel. These are the views through my eyes as the journey that I believe that we took as blacks through America. So before we get there, let's change the dynamic in the room. Oh yeah, come on now. That one goes out to our ancestors. That's for those of us here in the present. And we're going to send that into the future. So if you're ready, I want you to take this thing that is such an important part of our lives. I want you to take that thing and put it away. You give me a good 15, 20 minutes of your life, maybe I can help change your life. Here we go. This slide, when I saw it, when Willie D's presentation, I had saw it when George Floyd passed away, and it was in a semicircle. But when I saw this slide, it really helped me think about the journey of blacks in America. If you look at that slide, from 1619 to 2022 is the arc. So for 400 years, basically, blacks have been here in America. And then from 1619 to 1865, we were in bondage. We were oppressed and we were slaves. The next 100 years, we were in segregation. So I like to say the first 246 years was slavery. Segregation was slavery 2.0. And in 1964 to the present, we were technically what you would call free. So when I think about this, I think of my grandmother born in 1922. I think of my mother born in 1938. They were born into segregation. I was born into segregation, and then I became free. So all my family that's in my generation with me, we were the first generation of blacks who were technically truly free. And just look at that arc. Look at how that speaks to you. That's an incredible slide when you look at it through that prism. And you say, well, what does that mean? Well, if I say this to you, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If there's a chat feature, you can type in, where do you think that comes from? You should know where that document comes from. And this is a part of the journey of Black Americans, because when we saw those words, we were like, okay, we're going to be free. And why did we think that? Because we arrived in 1619, 20 Africans from the west coast of Africa landed in Jamestown, Virginia. And why did they arrive there? Because tobacco, indigo, and sugar were the crops that were being cultivated in the new lands. We weren't America yet, but they were the colonies. And when cotton came, the demand for labor was incredible. There were European indentured servants who were working the land, but that's a cost to the bottom line. Now when you bring slaves in, all of a sudden your labor cost goes away and everything turns into pure profit. So as I said, in 1619, 1770, there was a gentleman named Crispus Attucks, and he was killed in the Boston Massacre. His death and other deaths that happened along that time led to the British backlash and was the precursor to this event, which we call the Revolutionary War, which was from 1775 to 1783. Crispus Attucks is important because he was a black man and a Native American. For all intents and purposes, he was black, because if you ever hear the one drop rule, you know that Crispus Attucks was a black man. And his death really was the shot that started the Revolutionary War. As the colonies started to realize the oppression of Britain, they wanted to rebel and fight against them. So the Revolutionary War kicked in, and the colonies united to overthrow the British Empire. And funny thing, 20,000 slaves joined the British Army because the British Army told them that if you fought with us, look, you're already in bondage here in America, fight with us, overthrow the colonies, and you will be free. And if I was there, I would have taken that deal. 1776, the Declaration of Independence. Those of you that typed that into the chat, congratulations. That's what that was all about. On July 4th, 1776, we stopped being the colonies and we became America, and that's where these beautiful words were penned by the forefathers who had a vision for this country, which the country did not live up to with its black citizens. All we wanted was equality. We wanted everyone to be treated exactly the same. And when you think about equality, that's equality. Look at that slide. Is that equality? I want you to type that in your chat. Yes, no, maybe. Take a good look at that slide. But this is what black Americans wanted. When we saw the Declaration of Independence, we were like, we're going to get this equality. We're going to come back to that. 1861, Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States, was elected. Black Americans got incredible hope because we saw someone who, although he was a flawed man, he looked out for the interests of black America trying to unite this country. Why? Because in 1793, Congress passed the Fugitive Slave Act. That meant it was a federal crime for anyone to assist a person that was enslaved trying to escape. In 1831, the South's worst nightmare happened because you had a minority population that was enslaving a majority population, and they were hoping that no black leader would ever arise to get them folks to throw and try to overthrow the slave trade. And Nat Turner showed up, and he led a band of 75 blacks who killed roughly 60 whites over 2 days, and he was on the run for 6 weeks. And when he was captured, he was tried and he was hung, and 100 innocent people also lost their lives in that skirmish. But it was white America's biggest fear, because you finally had someone who was able to galvanize a group of slaves to finally try to overthrow their oppressors. So here are two things that made blacks see slavery in a little bit of a different light. And this is one of my favorite cases because this one blew my mind. Dred Scott was a slave. His master took him to 2 free states, and then they came back to the slave state, and he had the audacity to sue for his freedom. And that case went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Think about this. In 1857, a black slave sued for his freedom. And the ruling came back that because he was never a citizen, he was never free, in essence, he was property, so he had no right to sue. That was a blow to black America. And I just love that case because it just shows you the forward-thinking mindset of a black in America at that time. And then, as I said, we can call him the great liberator. Abraham Lincoln came along. What happens? He told the South, this is what we need to do. The South said, yo, Abe, get out of here. And then we got the Civil War. This war had to be one of the most incredible wars in history, as it fit brother against brother. You got families fighting each other. It's about literally, where we're at almost currently today, we're fighting for the democracy of this nation. And the southern states succeeded. They had their own president. They said, we're out of here. And black Americans fought on both sides of that war. Unbelievably, 10,000 blacks, we're estimating, because we didn't have, social media and Google and all the things we have today. So these are hardcore estimates that people tried to put together. But 10,000 blacks fought on the Confederate side with the people who were oppressing them. But 180,000 blacks fought with the North, trying to fight for their freedom. And 600,000 Americans died in that battle, which was probably one of the bloodiest battles that we saw on our own soil. And to this day, it's a battle that we talk about with reverence and all kind of messages. Then, since the North overthrew them, Lincoln, for all intents and purposes, won. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which was signed in 1863, but it wasn't fully ratified till 1865. And that was the document that literally ended slavery. And we talk about 1865 because that's when the troops marched into Galveston, Texas to free the last remaining slaves on June 19th, which we now call Juneteenth, which is now a federal holiday for us, so that we all get to celebrate in that day. So you can thank Abraham Lincoln for that holiday. What was the joy of the Emancipation Proclamation? Well, some things came out of that. The Reconstruction era happened, and that went from 1865 to 1877, but it was these documents, the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment. The 13th Amendment basically abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment took all those slaves and naturalized them and made them American citizens. That was 3.5 million blacks are now American citizens. And the 15th Amendment gave them the right to vote. So you got rid of slavery, you made them citizens, then you gave them the right to vote. At this time, a lot of blacks got into politics, they went into education. There was an incredible black movement because now there was no longer the bondage that was held over their heads. But don't be fooled, because the South wasn't having it. The South was still trying to defeat. They took that defeat badly. They were trying to do everything in their power to undermine the victory that the Union Army won. And Abraham Lincoln was on his way to doing some great things, and what happens? Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in April of 1865.